position. She received a Master's of Divinity from Western Theological Seminary, Holland, Michigan. She traveled to India and East Africa with World Vision Relief and Development Organization, exploring their work among the poorest of the poor. She purchased a home in a Black community just south of Chicago, benefited from studying conflict resolution, appreciative inquiry systems, theory, and interim leadership for organizations. Recently, began with intention doing her own work as a white person with privilege. She's eager to reflect with anyone who is open about what it means in this particularly unruly time to have impact for the common good. She's currently serving New Waves United Church of Christ, which is putting its 20 acres of property in Leelanau County in the service of the most vulnerable. So those are some of the things that, like show up in a bio. Jody's also going to tell you some of the things that are in her backpack of privilege that she carries around with her.
Thanks, Tricia. Yeah. You need me? Yes, I do. Yeah. Let's see. There. Good.
I think we got to get him on a slideshow.
Yeah, we went. Oh.
Where did I lost my new glasses already.
Play to start from the very far left, top of.
Play from start.
It's not there.
Down,
Right there. Thank you. Another indication that I'm not 24 anymore. So then you just click
That
right
little.
there.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm moved by that. I'm moved by that last story that you told. That was powerful. How you dealt with that, and to have the wherewithal, the calm interior, the confidence to be able to respect that person, to listen carefully, and then to respond that way. I'm sure you changed his world. And yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And thank you all for,
We all have the capacity to do that.
we do. Yeah, okay. Is that better? Okay. So thank you for inviting me here today. And Tricia, for your invitation. My contact information is there. Consider me a resource or a person, a companion on the journey from here on. The bigger our swarm gets of those of us who are trying to do this work, the better. So please avail yourselves of me as a resource. I do have business cards later too, if you'd prefer to pick those up. So I'm new to Northern Michigan, and I grew up in Michigan, so I'm familiar with the cold winters. That was not a surprise. The beauty, Northern Michigan takes Grand Rapids up a notch, right? It's really lovely here, and the solitude and the various opportunities there are here. I'm beginning to enjoy, after 2 years of living here, to find my way and beginning to enjoy living here. The United Church of Christ owns 20 acres of land in Leelanau County. This picture is where we are. If you imagine right that way on this picture, you could see the wind turbine. You can see see it on the, yeah. So 20 acres of land, not right on the corner, but next to the corner. And this was a little blessing that we did on the property with some folks who are indigenous, who are good at listening to the land. We wanted to make sure that we honored the land as a partner in our endeavor. And so we invited some folks who are skilled at listening to come and help us hear what the land would say to us. So this was a little blessing ceremony. My lifelong journey has been seeking to greater understanding of what it means to be compassionate, to do charity, to understand who vulnerable people are, and then to seek justice for those people. It's wonderful to be charitable. We have to continue to be charitable. You know that saying, but for the grace of God, there go I, right? But if we don't change the systems, then charity just has to keep going, right? It's like that teach a person to fish. you feed him for a day. Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a person to fish, you feed him for a week. But take the fence down around the lake, and you teach them, or you give them the opportunity to fish for their lifetime, right? And because of that work that I've done just in this northern Michigan area, what I have to acknowledge before I begin any meeting is that the land that we are on originally belonged to the Anishinaabe. That's an important awareness that we have to start our understanding with. So my question has been, who are the most vulnerable? When I began doing my research here a couple years ago, I discovered that there was, full disclosure, I'm a pastor. I won't try to convert anyone, don't worry. And I was trying to understand who are the vulnerable populations in this community. What I discovered when I began my work up here is there were no Christian churches that included LGBTQ community. None. None had a rainbow flag on their website. None, when I went there, said anything about full inclusion. They say everyone's welcome, but that means different things to different people. So I knew that was a vulnerable population. And so I began volunteering for Up North Pride. I blessed the parade in 2016. And then an organization that's a resource to the LGBTQ community called Polestar TC. And so that's been a way for me to connect with that vulnerable population. I'm giving you a little model here, right? A way to connect with that vulnerable population, to volunteer, to let them be leaders in their own empowerment, in their own work, but to say, I have privilege, I'm heterosexual, I have privilege in this community, so I can come alongside and support you and speak to those who would speak against you or don't understand who you are. So that was a group of people. The second group of people I discovered when I began looking for housing was the people who are workforce, people who are making minimum wage, people who are on Social Security, limited benefits. I discovered the issue of affordable housing. And so we said, we have 20 acres of property. Let's see what we can do to bring some affordable housing, put that property in the service of the community. So we're working with Habitat for Humanity to try to understand how we might do that. And then I discovered these folks that I call hidden populations. I'm not sure they would appreciate that language. But I know that there are populations in our communities who don't feel safe being out in the public. Another way to think about them might be the invisible impoverished, right? Trish mentioned that poverty is one of those groups of people that are oppressed, dare I say it. So these hidden populations who support our economy, right? They pick our fruit. Without them, our fruit would cost a lot more, right? And then these other folks who have been isolated on a certain piece of land. So these hidden populations, I began to understand as vulnerable and remembered some work that I had done. So a little background about my journey. I served a church in a black community in Chicagoland, the first south suburb of Chicago called Riverdale, 95% black community. I had an experience my first time in the grocery store there that I'll share with you. So I'm pushing my little grocery cart and I'm walking down the aisle and here comes a black woman toward me. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, now what? I can move my cart to be nice and let her come through, but then is she going to think I'm trying to avoid her, like I don't like her? Or I can keep my cart right there and force her to go around me. And then what does she think about me? It was a huge dilemma. And honestly, I don't remember what I did. But I do remember feeling that sense of confusion and anxiety. I wanted to do it right. I wanted to make sure that this woman was not offended by me. I wanted to not use my privilege to offend her, and yet I didn't know how to do that. It was eye-opening. Shortly after that, I learned about this workshop called Doing Our Own Work. It's a workshop by Allies for Change. You can find them at alliesforchange.org. It's an anti-racism seminar for white people. And when I discovered the hidden populations in our communities, I said this would be a wonderful workshop to bring to Northern Michigan. So we're in the middle of that workshop right now, and it's because of an article in the Northern Express that a mutual friend, Kathleen Stocking, reached out to me. She has done some work writing about African Americans in the North, and so I would encourage you to go to her writing as well as a resource. So this is my agenda for the day. I'm going to make you really uncomfortable. I hope you're up for that. Or maybe just a little uncomfortable. Is that okay?
Just a flashlight.
Just a flashlight. That's right. That's a good, yes, just a flashlight. That's good. And because I don't want to alienate the introverts in the group, I'm going to suggest that we do this in pair shares. So if you're really uncomfortable speaking in front of this large group, maybe you'll be okay just speaking one-on-one with someone, and then we can speak out after we do some of these pair shares. Does that work? Looking for, good. Thank you. Thank you. So in the first pair share, what I'd like you to do, you have 1 minute each. I'd like you to share your name with someone, and I'll leave this right up here so you can follow along. And then share how long you've lived in this area. And then what do you appreciate most about living in Northern Michigan? Ready? Find a pair. Okay. So, okay, switch to the second person in your pair share, please. So thank you for sharing. I know you could talk all day. When you get to meet new people, it's always fun. But I'd like to know who's in the room. So those of you who care to share aloud in the big group.
Okay, we're ready for you to come back. Is there anybody who is feeling brave, like they would share? I'm an introvert, by the way. some people who know me really well know that about me, that I'm terrified to speak in front of people. But when things matter this much, I do them anyway. And that's why I know that you all can too. So who's willing to share something they learned about the person that they got to meet today? Okay.
Hi, I'd like to introduce Linda Helber, and she is here from Sacramento, California. She moved here a year and a half ago, and what she appreciates most about this area is the diversity of the climate. She all knows it's very diverse, but what she doesn't appreciate is the lack of diversity in the population. Right. Here we go.
Thank you.
Would you like to tell us anything about the person you met? Anybody else? If you can't be brave here, where can you be brave?
That was a halfway hand up.
Oh, half your hand up.
I'd like you to meet Jane Packard. She moved up here from the Holland area and had some enterprise because they had some marina property, and she has moved up here and is living in Northport.
What does she like? What does she appreciate most about living here?
She loves the beauty of the area and is just constantly surrounded by it, and it never gets old.
I'd like to introduce somebody.
Is this one working? Yeah. Okay. You have to speak really close into the microphone.
I'm not sure that the person sitting next to me needs a microphone. This is
Like
this-
ice cream.
like ice cream. This is Hank Bailey, and Hank Bailey, how many years have you and your family and your ancestors been in this area?
Well, yeah, I thought about that, and actually, the guesstimations are we've been here about over 10,000 years. Been here a while. And I also thought about this next question. What do you appreciate most about living in northern Michigan? For me, it's a very heartfelt answer I'm giving, because in 1830, President Jackson put in the Indian Removal Act, where our people were being removed from this place that I live in now. And so for what do I appreciate most about living in northern Michigan? The fact that I am now able to live here and not in Oklahoma, where some of my people were sent to, and so that is very powerful to me to still be here in my homeland.
Thank you.
Oklahoma and Missouri is where some of my people were moved to. Yeah. I'm a Keweenaw Bay Band member. That's not something you might be able to tell by looking at my face. But my grandpa got removed and sent to Indian boarding school and never returned to the Keweenaw. So each of us have stories. Each of us have these things that are part of who we are. They give us privilege, they give us vulnerability, and we need to take the time to get to know those things about our neighbors. We may think we know by looking at what we see, we don't.
Thank you, both of you, for your story. So I invite you to take those little pieces of stories that you heard and file them. File them for the future, because we're neighbors. These are your neighbors. I thought I would spend a little time on poverty, but I think I'm going to skip. I'm just going to show you this next quote, and then I'm going to, oops, sorry. Yeah, that's it. This came from the Bridge magazine in 2015, and I think you'll all resonate. So, on the shores of two Great Lakes, two Michigans are pulling away from one another. For one, graceful summer homes rise on waterfronts equipped with boats, tubes, and toys. For the other, life is lived in trailers on back roads or small houses tucked into the woods. One comes in May and enjoys a summer of festivals, fun, and restaurant dining. The other Michigan lives here year-round and waits tables or changes hotel beds. One is like the state at large, recovering from the recession and building wealth. The other slips deeper into or closer to poverty. So I was going to do an exercise around poverty. I'm going to skip that and go right to privilege. So I'm going to reintroduce myself. So I am a U.S. citizen by birth. I'm an English speaker. I'm white. I'm able-bodied. I'm Christian. I'm a female. I'm heterosexual. I'm cisgender. I'm middle class. And I have a master's degree. I'll explain what cisgender is. Cisgender means that my biology matches my identity. I understand myself to be a woman, and my biology matches that. So all of these, except for one of them, are privileged designations for me. Anyone know which one is the target? Yes. Yeah. I'm female. So that's the only targeted identity that I have. In the race world, we call these privileged or targeted identities. So I invite you to think for a minute, just quietly. And there are more identities, right? If you look back at the slide that Trish put up, there are identities related to, can you think of, I know there were other ones, can you think of, thank you, socioeconomic, although middle class. Yep.
Geography.
Geography, right, where you live. Yep. Ethnicity, yeah, when we talk about race, we don't talk about ethnicity, but we're going to go there in just a minute. So,
Higher education.
higher education, so my master's degree is there.
Marital status.
Marital status, thank you.
Parental status.
Parental, thank you. Yeah, those are other ones. Yeah. So just, I'm gonna give you 30 seconds to just quietly think about your identities, your areas in your life, areas of privilege. So this, what you just did, is doing our own work. This is doing our own work, understanding who we are and what our privilege is. Now let's talk about what it means to be white. So we're going to do some more pair shares. And the first one I invite you to do is share something about your ancestry. This relates to ethnicity. So find maybe the same person if you want to, but maybe a new person if you want to. And we'll do 1 minute. Share one thing about your ancestry, your ethnicity, your heritage. Maybe you think of it that way. Go ahead. Can I move this? Can I move?
Our first minute's up.
Okay. Switch to the second person, please. Switch to the second person.
All right, everybody come back. Anybody, are you gonna ask people to share out?
We started late.
Okay, so thank you for sharing. And I wonder if just one word, either something you shared or something who you were talking with shared without revealing, because that's confidential conversation, right? Just one word, shout it out, and I'll repeat it. Something you learned about someone's ancestry, or you shared about your own. Irish. Norwegian, Polish, German, Dutch, French Canadian, Swedish, Native American, Northern European. All right, very good. Okay, you get the idea. Very good. Thank you. All right. Now I want you to do a peer share. What does it mean to be white? What does it mean to be white? Two people, you each have 1 minute. What does it mean to be white? I think I want to go through, so. And then we're racial inventory. Then shares we started. Okay, we started. I mean, this is the process. Give each person. So, and then you
All right, come on back.
Okay, thank you for sharing again, and we're going to use the same process. So, one word or a phrase that you shared or that you heard without divulging confidences. What does it mean to be white?
I don't even think about it.
I don't even think about it.
Assimilation.
Assimilation.
Privileged.
I can walk down the street and not be accused of walking while black.
I can walk down the street and not be accused of walking while black.
Hey, it happens. The first shot.
What? Yeah? Yeah, it's true. Yes.
He's a really good person, but he's racist.
He's a really good person, but he's racist.
If you've ever gone through a checkpoint for they ask you as a white male, how are you?